Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the 143. We're coming at you live with episode 139.
We have a banger inbound. It is finally football season. The NFL is officially underway. We have got a lot to talk about, a lot to catch up on. It's a great time to be alive. That time of the season, that time of the year. So excited.
This is what we've been waiting all year since February for. A full slate of games, something we haven't seen in a long time. And it was just nice this weekend to kick back and watch some pretty solid NFL games. It's good to see the Cowboys win their first one on the road in the Dawg Pound in Cleveland. That was good to see. We'll talk more about that here in a second. Just a lot of good things, but also a lot of bad things. And with that, I'll present the stat of the week brought to you by Angel Logistics. Nick, I'm sure you've seen this stat already, but I just think it's something that's so atrocious we need to highlight it. Daniel Jones, since being signed to his 4-year, $160 million contract, has thrown more touchdown passes to the other team he's playing than to his own team. He's thrown 2 touchdown passes since being signed to the Giants. He has thrown 3 pick sixes. That is one of the worst stats I've ever seen, and I just thought it had to be highlighted.
Yikes. Talk about signing the wrong guy. Couldn't be us.
Meanwhile, his running partner, Saquon Barkley, went to Philadelphia and got 3 touchdowns in one game. So they got rid of the wrong person, it looks like, in New York.
They signed the wrong guy.
It's just a dysfunctional franchise, and I think that stat points it out perfectly, so I thought we would highlight that for Stat of the Week.
Your player of the week, he had a big first week joining his new team. They were really good last year, and they've got high hopes this year, signed some high-powered talent. I went with Joe Mixon. 30 rushing attempts, 159 total rushing yards, and a touchdown. So he was pretty productive in the first week. People were pretty excited to see what the Texans are going to do this year, hoping they'll do bigger and better things as they have a couple more weapons to play with.
Texans look scary. We can just start there since we're already talking about it. Joe Mixon, looking like a great offseason signing. They were really struggling in the run game last year. And honestly, with C.J. Stroud, Stephon Diggs, who had 2 touchdowns, and that receiving core, I think now with Joe Mixon, you add some pretty scary play action threats in there with that high-powered offense.
I mean, they were just running it down the Colts' throat, which is something that we did not see from them last year.
No.
Good asset. Which obviously that's going to open up the pass a little bit more. Let C.J. Stroud work with a little bit more room as well as his receivers. And then you got Stephon Diggs in there. Obviously he is kind of a diva, and that's what was ultimately what the issue was with him in Buffalo. But as of right now, things are zinging and flowing extremely well. They're looking like a force to be reckoned with in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, not to take anything away from the Colts. I mean, this is Anthony Richardson's first game back from injury. He looked great.
Survived a full game
back from injury. Yeah, there were a couple of those just wow throws that he has every time he's out there. And Texans won this game, I think, as they should have. But it's also, we got to preface week 1. I mean, a lot can happen week 1 that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of the season. I think a lot of coaches use the first 3 or 4 weeks to kind of figure out who they are as a team. But it's looking like the Texans are just clicking on offense, and they've got a pretty solid defense as well. So that was a great game, AFC South divisional matchup.
There's 18 weeks in the year, so what you see this week is not necessarily going to be the narrative for your team the rest of the year. Quick brush over game. As of week 1, we were right about Caleb Williams and him not being special. They
Mhm.
won 24-17 over the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
Zero touchdowns thrown by Caleb Williams on offense. Also, nothing from the offense at all.
I
All of
think
their
it was
points.
I think it was either offense,
Yeah,
possibly.
neither
Yeah.
offense really did anything. I can't think off the top of my head about the Titans, but obviously we know for sure from the Bears because we've seen everyone blowing up over that. And people, he's getting the stat as the first number 1 overall taken quarterback to win in week 1 um, since 2002, I think is what they said. I mean, not that impressive. He threw for 93 yards. He didn't win them that game. He was just on the field at points in the game.
Yeah, I don't think
He didn't
Caleb
do
Williams
nothing.
deserves. I don't think he deserves any flowers for this game. All right, we're gonna give him sure first win, rookie quarterback, whatever. He didn't do anything. He painted his nails, and that was about it. And so I'm glad that he showed up to the game and took a few snaps, but that was about it. Let me correct myself. The Titans did score 2 offensive touchdowns, which is just sad that they still lost, even as they did. But neither one of these teams are really special, and we're not really looking for anything out of either one of these teams for the rest of the season.
There is life back in New England. That was a doozy. The Patriots faced off against Cincinnati in Cincinnati, winning that game 16-10. Obviously, they drafted Drake May at the beginning of the season, and they went with Jacoby Brissett, the veteran backup who's been around for a minute. He was there in New England back when they were winning Super Bowls with Tom Brady. He was in the quarterback room during that period of time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for the Bengals, that offense is looking mighty weak, which
Yeah, I don't
stinks,
know.
especially if you're Jamar Chase.
I don't know if it says more about the Bengals or the Patriots. Probably more about the Bengals. But also, Joe Burrow 1-7 in week 1 and 2 in the NFL. So he's more of a guy that gets off to a slow start. I don't know. I just don't think there's much to overreact about right now. You know, it's week 1. We'll see what the Bengals are this year. I think they just got to heat up. You know, I don't know if you really have to be worried, but we could be having one of those conversations later in the season. Is Joe Burrow overrated? I don't know, but we're not there yet. I don't think
The
we're
only
there yet.
problem is that Jamar Chase is acting like he deserves to be the highest paid wide receiver in the league, but he is not putting up those numbers. So you got to step up if you want to get that back. He said he wants to beat Justin Jefferson's paycheck and not just by a few pennies. He made that very clear that
he doesn't deserve that. So
he believes he should be the highest paid player in the wide receiver position. So
yeah, well, we don't agree
up.
with that here at Under Review. I think I deserve it as much as Jamar Chase does at this point. So I don't think he's gonna be the highest paid guy, but you know, that's a separate discussion for another day. I think they just got to figure it out on offense. We need to highlight the first game of the season, however, the Thursday night football game, Ravens Chiefs, a divisional rematch from the playoffs. And I got to say, the first game of the season did not disappoint. It was electric in Arrowhead, and Chiefs came away with a win by a quarter of an inch out the back of the end zone as Lamar Jackson tried to tie the game, pass to Isaiah Likely. Thought they tied the game at the very end. Pinky toe was on the out of bounds line. That was a win for the Chiefs.
It wasn't even his actual physical toe that was out of bounds. It was like that teeny tiny little space you have between your toe and the edge of your cleat. That's how much he was out by.
I mean, it was minuscule.
Ginormous feet. If he was half a shoe size smaller,
yeah,
we're talking about a different game here.
We're not having this discussion if Lamar Jackson doesn't completely miss a wide open receiver in the end zone on the play before.
Zay Flowers was sitting wide open. A clear miscommunication. I mean, obviously bad throw. He was sitting I mean, there's really no.
You don't get more
sugarcoating
wide
it.
open in the end zone.
He got open, and Lamar Jackson missed him.
I think this game, just reaffirmed my belief that Lamar Jackson, he's a running back still. I'm not high on Lamar Jackson. They can keep giving him MVPs. They can give him as many regular season MVPs as they want. But I'm tired of the media sitting here and acting like Lamar Jackson's the best thing since sliced bread. If you're going to throw Dak under the bus for not doing anything in the postseason, it's about time we had the Lamar Jackson discussion, okay? Because he's done just as much as Dak, which is nothing.
Zero zilch nada, and he snubbed Dak of MVP last year.
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Henry looks good in that Ravens purple.
Yep.
As to be expected there, he's in a better offensive situation, better coached situation, all around better team. So that's good to see for him. Friday night, the Packers took on the Eagles in Brazil.
Not sure why we had a game there, but it was there.
I don't either. At least it was a decent game. Obviously, don't care for either team. Would wish that they both lose, but
I think they both didn't look great. I'll be real with you. I don't think
Jalen Hurts did not look good at all.
I think Saquon Barkley looked great.
3 turnovers in the opening week. That tush push is looking.
They don't really have it anymore because Jason Kelce.
Without Jason Kelce, it is looking very beatable. And then the Packers, little trouble there at the end, unfortunately, as they lose Jordan Love for a few weeks. So that puts a damper on things. I guess the one thing you could take away from that game, if you're a Packers fan, is that he played decent. Threw a pick, but other than that, I mean, he was good. So if you see him healthy, playing like the Jordan Love that he's expected to be, I think the Packers are going to be a good, solid pick to compete for the division.
Yeah, I mean, you might chalk it up to rest or something. Week 1, you just don't know. At least it was a close game, and it wasn't terrible. I think something that needs to be highlighted is just, congrats to Sam Darnold coming out, Vikings-Giants. I know it was against the Giants, but you gotta give props to the guy for basically cycling around the league. For
hanging in
years.
There.
Yeah. I mean, it was he had a great performance.
Obviously, he was a part of the Jets for a couple years, and he struggled. And a lot of people were like, well, it's not Sam Darnold. He's just on the Jets. He needs to go somewhere where he can have a better opportunity to, make stuff happen. He goes to the Panthers. That's
same thing.
Not even – I would say that's a step down
it probably
from the Panthers. And then he goes and sits behind Brock Purdy in San Francisco, and then he earns himself the starting spot over in Minnesota. So good for him. It's a guy we can root for him here.
Just a good story. We'll get behind him here at Under Review. Not a huge game or anything, but I just thought we needed to point that out, along with congrats to Baker Mayfield for coming out and just lighting the Commanders up. Again, it's the Commanders, but Baker looked great and the Bucs look solid. So who knows what's going to happen in the NFC South.
It was another day at the office for Mike Evans.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, great performance from him, but I mean, he's just that he's been sneaky good for so long, and I guess not sneaky good because he's putting up incredible statistics, but it's just a consistency.
Yeah,
it's the incredible consistency throughout whoever his quarterback is. So, and now we might have a more consistent duo there with Baker Mayfield, and he's looking pretty decent in that Buccaneers run.
Yeah, he definitely is. It's good to see Baker, kind of like Sam Darnold, go around the league and find a good team that finally fit him and that's treating him right. I'm looking here. Jim Harbaugh gets his first win with the Chargers.
Division win.
J.K. Dobbins had himself a day coming off a Achilles, correct? Yeah, Achilles injury. So that's always good to see guys bounce back.
last year, had that nasty Achilles injury against the Texans, I believe it
Yeah.
was, and comes into a new situation, and they play I was going to say Oakland. They play Las Vegas, get the win, a nice division win. So love to see that from Mr. Harbaugh. Obviously, we're somewhat decent fans of him. Hear it on the review. Saints took care of business against the Panthers,
as
and
they
by
should.
take care of business, I mean beat the snot out of them. Obviously, people were expecting the Saints to win, but I don't think people thought the Saints had the firepower to put up. What they
47.
47.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Obviously,
points.
the Panthers defense and the Panthers in general not very good, but
No.
I didn't see it from the Saints offense last year and from
I
what
didn't
they
either.
picked up in the offseason. They go and score 47 points.
You know how scared
Very
I am?
impressive.
We play them Sunday?
I was about to say
Not.
they're in for a reality check. All right,
Yeah.
they're up here right now. When they play the Cowboys next week,
Look,
we're bringing them right back down.
Mike Zimmer have the boys ready, just like he did this past week. All right, we're gonna make Derek Carr look like Deshaun Watson.
Absolutely.
You know what? Let's do it. Let's talk about it. The boys went into Cleveland, into the dog pound, and by the end of the game, the fans were booing their own team. That's how much
And
devastation we
through the TV, we could hear the "Let's Go Cowboys" chants coming from the stands. Love to
go,
see the fellas traveling well, supporting their boys. It started off in typical Cowboys fashion. First drive of the game, 3 and out. First play of the game, holding. So this is nothing new. We're used to seeing this. This is how it's been.
But first play of the game, which was the holding call, Zeke comes out, hurdles a guy. It got called back. But Zeke, you know what? He was starting to look a little bit like prime Zeke, wearing that 15, new number for him, and he actually scored a touchdown in the game. Love to see Zeke back just for the nostalgia of it. You know, it's just good to see him back in the blue and the white, and I don't know. You know, it's just something about it. Maybe Zeke's back. You know, maybe he has a prime Zeke here.
And that defense was looking extra good. Crushing blow, missing Deron Bland for the first I think it was like 4 to 6 weeks of the season or so. But Kalen Carson, who was wearing the 21 out there, I'm always skeptical when I see a 21 cornerback on the field. I'm like, let's calm down. We're not prime time. But he
played like him. The
5th round pick out of Wake Forest had himself a day, did his job. The ball seemed to just find him on almost every single passing play. We made Deshaun Watson look horrible. I mean, we
got people questioning Deshaun Watson like as a quarterback now.
I was going to say people were high on the Browns during the offseason, and then right after week 1, everyone's like, is Deshaun Watson horrible? That's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
The pass rush was there. DeMarvion Overshone, he was supposed to be a defensive asset last year, but he tore his ACL last preseason, so he missed the entirety of his of what would have been his first playing season in the NFL. He looked good. Seeing that bandana flap in the wind on that 4th and 6 when he literally shoots out of a cannon and demolishes Deshaun Watson. Micah Parsons was looking
Micah looked great. Our offense was all right. It was better in the first half than it was in the second half. But it was kind of just one of those things, I think, where, you know, we got the job done. And, like, I'm not overreacting to, like, our slow offense in the second half or anything. Like, I think the game had already been decided pretty much by halftime. Something I feel like we need to address is that how are we going to talk all offseason about Cowboys week 1? Cowboys are going to lose week 1. The Browns are looking good. The Browns are stacked. Cowboys are just going to get killed week 1 because the Cowboys talk that talk all offseason and they never back it up in the postseason, which is true. But we come out week 1, we beat the snot out of the Browns. like Nick said. I mean, like I said, the game was over by halftime. And now the narrative for this week is that, the Browns really weren't that good to begin with. Deshaun Watson, has he ever really
washed.
recovered? Yeah. So, just pick one side of the story and stick with it. Okay. Maybe the Cowboys are just good in the regular season, like we've been saying. All right. The Cowboys, we can play well in the regular season. That's what we've been doing.
And the other thing is they have one of the best defensive players in the league in Myles Garrett, and we made him
Shut him down.
non-existent in the game. He played
Huge-
no role in the Browns.
Huge props to our two
scheme.
rookies on the O-line. Huge
Yeah, I
props
was about to say
BB.
Cooper Beebe, and then my boy Tyler Guyton. So they were getting, and I want to say Cooper Beebe. You know what? I think both of them were playing positions that they had never played before, and they were great.
They were great.
Obviously, I think the only gripe would be that the offense has to finish games. Obviously, the game was over, but I would like to see 4 quarters of offense.
Yeah.
The defense was great from the get-go, but I would like to see the offense play 4 good quarters of football.
Yeah. Just all in all, great way to start out week 1 on the road. You can't really ask for much more. And hopefully we can take this and keep moving on, keep dominating this season, but we'll see. Something worth noting is Dak made history right before the game, signed the highest paid contract in NFL history. He's got $60 million guaranteed a year now, 4 years, $240 million. So Dak better win something, because I'll be real. If we do the same thing this season, if we win one play, I mean, I'm not looking anywhere other than Dak Prescott.
And also the other thing, I understand we won 33-17, so it looks a lot better than it actually was. Dak only threw 1 touchdown and for 179 yards. So for you to be the highest paid player in league history, you got to give me more than that. Yeah,
I agree. But mainly we paid you to play in the postseason. So you better, 1, get us to the postseason, and 2, you better play. You better shine in the postseason. And $60 million a year is not 1 or 2 wins in the postseason. We're looking Super Bowl.
I want that ring. I want some hardware.
I don't care if it's possible or not. People can come at us. We're not saying it's our year, but we paid him like it's got to be the year, one of these 4. So,
well, to be the highest paid player in the league would mean that you are the best, or should at least play like the best.
No, because the best knows that you don't take all the money from everyone else, so you can get a good team around you.
You're right.
Which Patrick Mahomes did, and Dak doesn't care about that. He just wants every penny.
Wants that contract.
The difference between $50 million a year and $60 million a year, it's a lot apparently to Dak. So,
Last 2 games to highlight real quick. The Sunday night game, that was a good one. Another playoff rematch from last year. The Rams head back to Detroit, and Jared Goff looked interesting.
The running game was the story for Detroit.
The Lions took over in the ground game, and then Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford, that fire that we saw a couple years ago back when they were winning the Super Bowl, and Cooper Kupp was the greatest player in the league at that point. They were looking lethal again. He was looking right like his Triple Crown self. Matthew Stafford looking like prime Matthew Stafford, but unfortunately they came up short. And an electric overtime ending. The Lions win the coin toss, drive down the field with David Montgomery, and just stuff it down the Rams' throat to win the game, and the crowd explodes.
Yeah, both of these teams are going to be good this season. I think the Lions have a legit shot at the Super Bowl this year. And the Rams, a lot of people have them going pretty far. So it was a great Sunday night game to start the season, and overtime win from the Lions. And then the last game, Monday night, the Niners took on the Jets. Aaron Rodgers played the full game. Congrats to him. Didn't get hurt. Didn't ruin prime time for us this season yet. And Niners get the win. Their running back, Chris McCaffrey, inactive right before the game. So Mason came out, this guy that nobody really had ever heard of. And he had like 28 carries, 140 something yards, and a touchdown. So props to him. The Jets, it's going to take a couple weeks. I mean, the offense has not played together. If we're like, Aaron Rodgers hasn't played with the offense for the Jets yet. So I don't know if they're going to be good or not, but I don't think we can really take much away from their week one performance just because it's going to take a few weeks.
I think it's kind of what we said before in our in one of our NFL episodes in the past, that the 49ers are going to be the 49ers. I mean, the defense looked the same as it always does. That offense comes out and is zinging with whoever they have in whatever position. You know, they're playing without their stud running back, Christian McCaffrey. And it doesn't matter because the run game is still there. The offense was still as lethal as ever. So I think it's just going to be the same, the 49ers that we're used to seeing.
Yep. Anyways, good week one, and we're excited to
Glad to be back
for the rest of the season.
What a great way to start out the NFL season, am I right? So,
Amen.
Here's like to end our shows in under review. I brought you a quote from the Sean Payton, and he said, what did he say? To do things you've never done before, you have to do things you've never done before. That's the truth.
That's the truth. We thank you for tuning in this week. We'll see you next week with week 2 coverage here at Under Review.